Hi guys, one of my co-workers at work saw a bracelet, what I call a crappy beads project, basically meaning your leftover beads, not necessarily crappy beads, but leftover beads, plastic beads, all those kinds of beads, and she loved it, and she wanted me to make a bracelet for her with leftover beads. And so I thought, well, as long as I'm going to start a project, I might as well get you in there. You probably, just like me, if you're beading a long time, got a bag full of leftovers. Beads that you haven't been using, like plastic beads, got replaced with Swarovski beads, but I still got them. So, yeah, so basically everything that I was too lazy to round up after I was done working, wound up in this bag. So this is a lot of Miyuki beads in there. There's some Swarovskis in there too. And there's some plastic beads in there. So this is what I will be working with. It's all assorted and yeah, all kinds of leftover stuff. Now personally, I don't like them, but there's an audience for them that like the color combination of all the beads just together. So that's the good thing about beads all together, is you don't have to really think about a color combination. It just automatically fits. It's very floral and colorful, so there's a lot of people that just love this stuff, and for the life of me I don't understand why. But as I said, one of my co-workers saw one of these bracelets and she decided she wanted one and she asked me for it, so I'm going to make the tutorial. Now normally I would probably do this on a ladder stitch, but that's going to take up a lot of time, and so I'm going to do this with a peyote stitch. I have measured her wrist actually for a cuff, so I'm not exactly sure how long it needs to be. She decided later on that she wanted the clasp, so I got the slide-on clasp, and I'll be adjusting the end or the beginning of the bracelet a little bit to make sure that we got a ladder stitch going in here, because that will make it much stronger. So I suggest we get started. I'm going to start my base with Wildfire, because I want my base to be very strong, and when I start adding my other beads on top of that, I will be using Fireline to make that a little cheaper. And yeah, as I said, let's get started. Just take a piece of Wildfire that you're comfortable working with. I kind of like it about 3 meters. I'm comfortable working with that. And I have to remeasure her wrist too, so yeah, I'm going to start with about 3 meters. And although there's a wax coating on there, I'm going to wax that again. And I really need new wax because this is pretty much dried out. It still works, but as you can see, clutter's falling all over. Will be for next month. I already bought all the beads with you guys' money for this month, so I'm running my fingers through there. Still got some wax on there, so it still works. So I put that on my needle, and I'm going to start with, I don't know exactly how many in peyote will fit on there. I'll have to measure. I'm using a white seed bead, but this is also seed beads that are kind of mixed up among each other, so I'm just going to leave it that way. And as you can see, one is a little bit more shine through than the other. So I think I got Ceylon and Ceylon white. I think I got like a Ceylon and a Ceylon white in here. I'm going to leave it that way because, you know, that's the good thing about these projects. I don't have to sort through my beads. So I'm not exactly sure how many fit in there. It's going to be a couple of more. I got to make sure that this measurement is about the same as what will fit in there. So let me see what 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 14 should do it. So I'm going to leave a considerable amount of end tail. That's about the size of it. Just because I want to make sure that I can put 15 O's in between there and another row of 11 O's, and also some room to cover that up with the seed beads so that you don't have an empty gap in between this row and where you connect it. So I'm going to pick up, let me get that out of the way so that doesn't distract, and that too. So I picked up one seed bead and I'm going to skip one and I'm going into the next one. And I'm going to pull my thread through. So this is basically just the peyote, but instead of with the delicas, we're going to do it with the seed beads. Pick up another seed bead, skip one bead, go into the next one, and it won't be such a nice fit, close fit as you would have with delicas. But if you use delicas for this project, then you're going to find that stuff is going to break because the delicas are pretty sharp on the sides and you got to go around these beads later on. So the seed beads are perfect for this. And skip one, next one, and then we've got 14, so it's not difficult to do the peyote because it's an even number. And another one into the next. And another one into the next. And another one and into the last. Okay, and now basically what you have to do is you turn it around, pick up the first one, and you go in between the seed beads that are standing out, picking up the next into this one which is standing out, picking up the next into this one, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the last one. So I'm going to turn that around again, and then you're going to pick up one, I'm going to go into the first one. So normally peyote gets done with delica beads, and you get a much nicer and snugger surface if you do it indeed with delica beads, but I want to make sure that this bracelet lasts, so I'm not going to use delica beads for this. And then basically you're going to work all the way until you run out of thread, and I will show you how to add a new thread, or how I add a new thread, let me put it like that. And this will be your base. And then we're going to add a new thread, and after that I'll show you how I'm adding the seed beads on top of there. So I suggest you pause me now until you run out of thread. So this is what 3 meters gets you. It's not much, but this is about half my wrist, I think. Not even. So I can do easily another 3 meters before I have to wait until I can check her wrist again. So let's add another 3 meters. And now I'm just going to pick up the last couple of them. I'm just going to pick up the last row again, so that I come out of that same area where that thread is. I'll leave a little bit of end tail. Picking up that last row. And the last two, or the last one that's in between, is kind of loose. That's okay. Turn it around. I'm going to do one in between all the seed beads in one row. To make sure that that one is tight enough. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going into the same direction as where I stopped. And in case you're wondering how I would price such a product, well, let me tell you this. These beads, I would never use these again. You know, it's not that I'm going through the stack trying to look for the beads that I still want to use. You know, if I turn it around and there are beads that I want to use, then I will take them out anyway as I go through the stack. But other than that, that stack basically is not going to get used again. So here's how I would price them. So what I would do would, I would take my measurement tool and put that on a solid base, not my beading pad of course. And I would say if you take, for instance, your galvanized gold or your Duracoat, those are pretty expensive. Your sterling silver, I got some sterling silver that's like over a dollar an ounce. So what I would do is I would take my bracelet. First I would take my clasp. That's about 2.45 grams. I would write that down, 2.45 grams, because you're going to measure the whole bracelet later on. So I got to write that down. .45 grams. Okay, so I got that down, and then I'm going to write down how much that clasp cost, and then I would just take, for like $1 an ounce, I would calculate my beads. So I just put my beads on there so far. That would be 5 grams, 5.27. So that would be $5.27. But you know, when that's all done and you add these beads, you will have like maybe a bracelet for about $20, $25, which would be fair. I mean, seriously, you're not going to use them again, so only your time is invested in there. If you want to be paid for your time, well, it's a pretty lengthy project. So if you want to calculate another $10 for 5 hours of work, plus the price for your beads, that's going to be like a $75, or maybe you want to charge minimum wage, which is $15 an hour. So if it takes you 4 hours, well, nobody will want to buy that bracelet. They'll go to the dollar store to find something like that. So, okay, now let's get rid of the end tail. Just put your end tail on a new thread and go and push that through to the other side. And I'm going to go all the way to the other side. So you always got to make sure that your thread is at least long enough to reach the other side. or your end tail. Just picking up, zigzagging through the beads somewhat, and then you just cut that off or zip that off. There. And now you can continue to work without any threads being in your way. So that's how I add a new thread. Okay, I think I pretty much got her size, but I'm not sure, so I'm leaving this thread on. That's the working thread, and I put a bead on the working thread so I can see where I can take it out. Now we're going to add the clasp on one side. So we're now going to start around with 15/0 seed beads. Kind of straighten that out in between the 11/0 seed beads. Okay, I'm going to turn around again. We're going to pick up the 11/0 seed beads again, and now we're going to do the ladder stitch. I'm going to pick up one, go back through the first one, and into the seed bead that you just added. Pick up another one, pick up the 15/0, back in there, and upwards into the seed bead you just added. Again, we're going to pick up the 11/0 first, into the 11/0 back, and then we're going to pick up the 11/0 and we're going to go back into the 15/0. And you're not going to get a complete straight row, but it'll still be pretty good. So 11/0 on the 11/0 and 11/0 on the 15/0. I'm going to do that all the way to the end, which is 14 beads. $11.0, $15.0, $11.0, $11.0, $11.0, $15.0, $11.0, $11.0, $15.0, back into the 11.0, 11.0, 11.0, and 11.0, 15.0. Going back through the 15.0 and up the 11.0. Gonna turn that around. Now we're gonna work backwards. 11.0 on the 11.0 and into the 11.0. 11.0, 11.0. So you're going to do 2 rows, and that will straighten the first row out pretty much evenly, much more evenly than the previous row, because we're going to go back and forth through there. And that's why you needed a longer end tail. This all the way to the end. Five more. Oh, I wanted to tell you that 3 meters of thread took me an hour to put the beads on there. So far there's already 2 hours in here on just this peyote part. There. And the last one. Okay, now we're going to go through the previous row of 11 O's. Make sure you get them all. It's kind of hard since they are not straightened out. Make sure you got them all, that it didn't skip anywhere. And now back into the first row, the top row. And that should be pretty easy. So that would straighten it out. Go underneath and make sure that that fits. Yep, perfect, perfect fit. Now go underneath here, the threads. Through it, the loop, and go back through your first row. To the other side, pull that knot in there and cut that off. Let me see, she's left-handed, right-handed, oh, it doesn't really matter. Right now you can put it on there. And close that up. So that fits in there. What I do first is I take my pliers and I twist that a little bit. Yeah, I think the best thing is to just push it against something. So I'm pushing it against my table. There we go. Hard surface, that will work. Okay, now she's right-handed, so the clasp needs to be where it needs to be. Clasp needs to be on this side in order to close it. So that means this side is top side right there. Now we need a new needle and we need to add our fire line on there. I'm going into my first official row of peyote. So the 15 O's right here in between. Go pick that one up. Yeah, pull my thread through. Oh, not. And then I'm going to pick up some of my beads. I start with something that won't damage the thread too much, and just in case, then I'm going to pick up some other beads. And it all kind of depends on what you want to do and how long you want to make it. I think this is nice. This is a nice length. And then I'll pick up a 15/0. So I'm going to try and make sure that I got something that is up there that I can do the 15/0 on top of without it disappearing into the bead. So I'm going to skip the 15/0. That's on the side. And I'm going to go back through all these beads. I'm going to go back into my first peyote, and then I'm going to pick the middle one up, or the first one actually that you bump into on your right side. And then I'm going to just pull that tight. And there we got the first one on there. And you can put that down. Well, it will cover up everything. So make sure that the one that's on the bottom is a good seed bead that won't damage your thread. And from then on out, just kind of, you know, pick something up that you think won't damage your thread. And you can do the same length. I'm going to pick it up like this. I got a 11/0 seed bead on top of there with a 15/0 that I think will hold. And then I go back through the, or that's not an 11/0, that's a, I think that's old seed beads from Gutter. That's probably 9/0. Going back all the way. I'm picking up the second one. And then I'm going to move over again to the left side to go to my first row. So basically you're doing 2 rows at the same time. And it's a lot of work. Okay. Now, picking up the next one. What should we pick up? Pick up first a 15/0. And there we go. And you really don't have to think too hard, actually, about it. Just pick up some beads. And this is the third. Skipping the 15/0. Going back through all these beads. Picking up that first row again, and then the second row. Okay, and that's just, you're going to do that all the way to the end, so I suggest you pause me now until you get to the end. So, when you did your last one, you're going to move over into that next row, and then you have to pick up these, the row right here in between, but it's going to be difficult. So you have to make sure that your beads are all moved back in order to do that. I'm going to do the first one right here. And then you got to pick up that one. So now you're moving to the other side. First you were moving out, now you're moving in. Make sure that your thread doesn't get caught around your beads. And I could put some bling in there. Just go all the way back through them. And then pick that up and then move out again. So that's all there is to it. And that's basically how you're going to do your bracelet all the way to the end. You can do the clasp on the other side yourself, because I already showed you how to do that. And that's basically all there is to it. And please, please, if you make one, please share it with me. I love to see all kinds of shapes or colors or whatever you did to them. You know, maybe shorter, maybe longer. I would love to, really love to see them. I know it's a lot of work, but you know, it's going to pay off in the end. Especially because I know people love to buy these, especially with all kinds of colors in them. So, but I think if you do all black, that would be gorgeous. If you would do all white with a B, that would be gorgeous too. You know, you would have like a prom bracelet or a wedding bracelet, so that would be really cool too. But, you know, whatever kind of color combinations you really like. And, yeah, I hope you'll share it with me. So I'm on my merry way. And I thought, nah, let me go in between, edit the video, and I found out. I never showed you guys how to work your end tail away, so I'm going to do that now. And this is the white that it will look with on my bracelet, and this is the white in between. So that's basically, it became almost double the white from your peyote part. So if you say, well, that's too white for me, but I still love it, just, you know, use a smaller clasp. This is 12 millimeter. I think they also have like 6 or 7 or maybe 8 millimeters. And then, you know, just make it smaller and then just do the same thing. If you think this is too much. Okay, this is really heavy, but it's, yeah, I'm starting to, you know, I never used to like these projects, but I'm starting to get fond of them, at least. So I will have to make one for myself for the PDF file, which I haven't gotten to yet because I've been working on this one. And I'll be honest, I can only do like 2 or 3 threads of about 1.5 meters per day because it's really killing my back when I'm working on it. But yeah, I completely starting to get fond of this, and by the time I make my own, I'll probably love it. So, oh yeah, how to finish that up. Okay, so we got the end tail, or we got the working thread. Let me get my end tail and my other thread away. And what you do to end it is you just go in between the threads and then just go through that loop that you created. And I'm doing this twice, and I'm going underneath the same part, thread, and then through there again. And then I'm going to take it to the back, and I'm going to work my thread into the next seed bead, and I'm just going to work it away, and I'll try and work it away as far as possible, preferably to the other side. And I'm just going to move over 1 seed bead at a time, moving forward to the other side. And I do exactly the same with my end tail. I double knot that under the threads and I move it over to the other side. And I found the easiest way to work with this is, I'll show you in a minute. Because there is an easy way where you don't get so tangled up among those beads all the time. Okay, I've got to work the other end tail away in a minute, but when I'm working from right to left, I like to work with this part open, so this falls back. First you have to push it back when you start, okay? But once it gets heavy enough, you can lay it down, and then you can just work like this, and then you can see all the beads are out of the way, and if you try and keep your thread on towards you, then it's easier to work through. Now when you get to the other side, same thing, just turn it around and then work your way like that. And just when you lay it down, you will see that all the beads are going this way, or if not, just kind of push them that way, and then it's way easier to work with. And I try to keep as little, but as long as try to keep as little beads here on this side as possible, so that, you know, when I get caught, that I could only get caught among the first couple of them. So because, you know, when I was working like this earlier, and then I found out that sometimes my thread would go through all these beads, and then you would have to figure out, like, okay, where did it go? But if you work it like that, the lesser beads you have, the easier it works. So I hope that will help you, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I do hope that I get to see some of your projects that you made. And I will be working on the PDF file starting Monday, and I got 2 night shifts, so I won't be working on it Tuesday, but then Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday I got off. So I hope to have it up in about the end of next week. And yeah, let me know what you think. Bye guys.